The Princess of Wales makes her first public appearance since completing chemo. Plus, Prince Harry takes on New York City as present and former staffers speak out about working with Meghan Markle. Plus, James Middleton talks mental health, and Michael Sheen reveals what it was like portraying Prince Andrew and his thoughts on that infamous interview.
One of the reactions was, how has this been allowed to happen? How has he agreed to this?
We've got that plus so much more on today's Royally Us. Hey everyone, and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, and that's Christine, and Prince Harry is here in New York. Princess Kate is out and about. All is well.
Yeah, we're back in the swing of things. It almost feels like a very normal royal news week.
It really does. Well, we got a lot to get to, and like I said, Princess Kate made her first public appearance since completing her chemotherapy treatment. She was pictured arriving to a September 22nd church service near Scotland's Balmoral Castle in photos that were obtained by The Sun. Kate sported a brown tartan coat with a coordinating fedora as she rode in a car with her husband, Prince William. Royal family members, including King Charles and Queen Camilla, also attended the service at the church. So it's nice to see her, like we said, out and about attending church services. Hopefully she's feeling a little bit better each and every day.
Yeah, it's always so nice to see her, especially with the family, and dressing up. You know, she's not really in her pajamas on the sofa feeling really terrible. She's getting dressed up. She's getting out and about. And I think that's really promising. It's understood that William and Kate went up to Balmoral together without the kids, possibly linked to Prince William's events in Aberdeen the last week. And so I love the idea that they've sort of had like a mini getaway, just the two of them. I'm sure that time feels even more precious now.
Definitely, and well-deserved as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, Prince William was in Aberdeen. He is working to end homelessness, and he has made solo visits in Scotland the last week to meet with charities and essential workers in the area. Last year, the Prince of Wales launched Homewards, a 5-year locally led program which will demonstrate that together it is possible to end homelessness, making it rare, brief, and unrepeated. Homewards has launched in 6 locations so far, Aberdeen in Scotland and, across the UK, which is very exciting because we know that this is a big initiative for him to further the work of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Important scheme. William traveled, like I said, to Aberdeen to meet with representatives from the Homewards Aberdeen location. So this is something that he is, spending the next 5 years or so working on. And it seems like this, along with the Earthshot Prize, are what he's really putting a lot of his focus on.
Yeah, I think Homeward, it's a huge project. It's going to be part of his life's work. He's really working towards, and the whole organization is working towards really generational change so that in the future, hopefully in the very near future, homelessness is sort of, a strange occurrence rather than a common occurrence. And it's amazing to think that all of this, his passion for fighting against homelessness really started with Princess Diana taking him to Center Point as a child. So this is almost literally, this is life's work. You're talking about teenage Prince William working all the way now throughout his career as a working member of the royal family. This is a hugely important cause for him.
Well, a lot of people have been talking this week about Princess Kate's brother, James Middleton. He finally released his book, Meet Ella, and it's a beautiful story about his mental health struggle and how his dog really helped save his life. I got the chance to sit down and speak to him in a wide-ranging conversation about the book, about fatherhood, about his relationship with his family, and of course about mental health. And he said, I think he's talking about his family, recognize the importance of speaking out and how powerful that can be just as an aid for somebody who might be struggling themselves, but also for the families, for the people surrounding an individual who might be struggling and not knowing how to respond and thinking I'm doing everything like my family were trying to do. And they were the hardest people and actually the most annoying in a way for me to be able to communicate with. And that's okay. He went on to say that, they were so persistent in, making sure and checking in on him and making sure that he was okay, that I guess at times he felt like they were, trying to do too much. But he said, if you remember back in March, he posted this beautiful thing about Kate when she announced that she had cancer and how that they will, climb the highest mountains together. And I asked him about that. And he said, we are a close family and I'm hugely grateful for my parents to have brought us up in this sort of that mentality that family is. We are honest with each other, but we equally understand the importance of making sure that we are united in a front, and we can have different sort of opinions, we can have different interests, but ultimately family is something that we really have been taught to us by my parents, and it's something that I hope to teach my son and my future family as well. It seems like, despite all the the notoriety and things like that, at the end of the day, they are a core family.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're getting so many beautiful tidbits from this book, lots of stories about, little things that he's sort of giving away about the royal family, but actually they're just family stories. It's an uncle talking about his niece and nephew, it's a brother talking about how his sister supported him. And it's such a beautiful book on his own struggle, but also how to help someone going through that, and how pets can act as a therapeutic support. And there's so much to this book. It's not just sort of like a tangential celebrity memoir. It's a really powerful almost resource for people who are going through similar mental health struggles or whose family members are going through that.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're kind of just like us, just living their everyday lives. Yes, they're the most famous people in the world, but they're living their everyday lives. And he said that he calls William whenever he has questions about maybe something that he'd be embarrassed to ask Kate and Pippa, but they have a really close relationship as well. And it's just nice to see that he has found peace, and he is a great father, and it seems like he is really happy in his life right now. So we wish him the best, and definitely took a lot for him to, kind of put this down on paper, and hopefully it helps a lot of people as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so excited for everyone to read the book. It's such a beautiful book.
Definitely. All right. Well, Prince Harry is making the rounds in New York City. The Duke of Sussex attended a charity dinner in New York City on Sunday. The event, hosted by the World Health Organization, honored survivors of childhood violence. He teamed up, of course, with the Diana Award, the charity honoring his mother, Princess Diana's legacy. It was created, of course, in honor of Princess Diana, and it aims to empower young change makers. He also spoke out at the Clinton Foundation about the dangers of children consuming online content. He really made the rounds, and I know when he spoke at the Clinton Foundation, I believe he got a standing ovation talking about the dangers of social media when it comes to kids, and I know that that's a big initiative that he has taken on with Meghan. So it seems like, he's trying to really put the focus back on the work.
Yeah, I think friends who were at these events said that Prince Harry, he was so charming, friendly, really vibrant, and sort of himself in a way that we hadn't seen in a long time. So I think he's getting back into the work. He knows what's important, and it's making sure that these messages and these projects get promoted in a really positive way. So he's definitely feeling good about this, feeling good about the work that he's doing, feeling, sort of not bogged down by the drama that's been surrounding him the last few years. This is definitely, as we've said so many times, getting stuck in, getting the work done, and making sure that that's sort of the leading headline. Right,
100%. All right, well, speaking of headlines, let's spill the royal tea. And the Duchess of Sussex has long been dogged by reports that she promotes a toxic workplace environment. Well, several current and former staffers paint a very different picture to Us Weekly in this week's cover story. So we talked to a bunch of different people that have worked and do work for the couple, and Ben Browning, their former head of content, who was responsible for getting their Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix before leaving after his contract expired last year, says his experience at the company and with Meghan and Harry in general was positive and supportive, adding, "We all continue to be friends. The narratives we've been suggesting the contrary are untrue." A current employee who has to remain anonymous said people leave at any company. They get new opportunities, change their careers, or feel their role isn't the right fit. They also sometimes get let go. Those decisions are part of doing business. That current staffer says colleagues have been dumbfounded by the claims, adding, "It's clear where this type of commentary is coming from. It's likely made up from someone who is disgruntled." Browning tells us that the narrative is simply a predictable attempt at creating intrigue through sowing false conflict. During weekly Zoom calls, Harry will chat casually with staffers. He's fun. He definitely takes the work seriously. But when a meeting starts, the first 5 or 10 minutes are all pleasantries like, "How was your weekend?" or "How's the construction going at the house?" This is from an ex-employee. As a group, they go to happy hours, have holiday parties, and they say that Meghan is the first person to wish staffers a happy birthday and is compassionate and understanding when it comes to illness or family commitments. I'm sure everybody has a different experience at different work environments, but it's nice to hear that a lot of people are speaking out and, saying that, they had a great experience with Harry and Meghan. They are compassionate, and it's not this toxic place that a lot of people paint it out to be.
Yeah, definitely. And as they said, one disgruntled person or, a team that really doesn't get along is going to have a different story from several people who do get along, where the environment really feels right and it's the right fit. So it is good to hear that, they have all these positive experiences. Harry and Meghan are really finding their groove, finding their team to support them. Because again, what they want and what we all want is for the work to be, at the forefront of the stories about them. And I think getting the story straight that they're not these horrendous employees is another step towards that.
Definitely. All right, well, let's break down the royal rules. And this week we caught up with actor Michael Sheen, who portrays Prince Andrew in Prime Video's A Very Royal Scandal, which dramatizes the disgraced royal's 2019 BBC Newsnight interview about his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Here is what Michael told us about playing Prince Andrew and his thoughts on that infamous interview. Take a look.
I felt the same way as everyone else when I first watched it. And I suppose I sort of remember thinking, this isn't like any other interview I've seen. And I didn't really know why at the time. I didn't question it so much at the time. And I just sort of, saw the memes afterwards and the jokes on the late night shows and, all that kind of stuff, the cultural stuff that happened. But I'd never really thought more about why was it so unlike anything I'd seen before. And obviously in working on it, we started to sort of answer those questions really. But at the time, it was, one of the reasons why I'd never seen anything like it before was because, and this was part of the reaction from people. One of the reactions was, how has this been allowed to happen? How has he agreed to this? And that's partly why I'd never seen anything like it before, because in a world where interviews are so controlled and stage managed, and particularly with royal family and politicians and things like that, here was someone who was voluntarily, a person of power and privilege, voluntarily putting themselves into the line of fire and being made to feel like, be accountable for something that they had done or not done. And that's so, people just don't do that. So if I've played real life characters before, not necessarily where an interview is involved, but I will record interviews with them because obviously that's good research and stuff. So I will have I do it on a phone now, but it used to be on a dictaphone thing. Well, I'll record the audio of something so that I'm not distracted by the video element of it. So there is both watching the interview and then listening to it. And I'm sure for both of us, it's like literally hundreds upon hundreds of times.
Yeah, definitely A Royal Scandal is going to be a must-watch for a lot of people as it takes a look at this interview that people are still talking about 5 years later.
Yeah, it's amazing how we have so many royal movies and specials and series in the last few years. Mm-hmm. Lots of things for us to watch on Netflix and on the big streamers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Royal Yes. Christine, thank you so much as always.
Thank you. It feels good to be back in the positive royal news beat.
Definitely. All right. Well, keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we'll see you next week.